Bismillah. Welcome back to another episode of The Checkmate Theory, the podcast where we talk about lifestyle, business, and making moves. Today I'm with a special guest, Mukhtar Raage, the CEO and co-founder of Nuni.io. Nuni is an audience engagement and community platform focused on hybrid and physical events. Mukhtar has a background in cybersecurity and has previously worked at a successful Kickstarter company that has raised £2 million. So Mukhtar, how was your journey? And talk us through what it's like navigating your way through this pandemic as a startup CEO.
Yeah, thank you for the introduction. I've been working on this properly for probably the last 12 months, maybe the past year. Previously, before that, it was mostly just learning and trying to figure out what I wanted to do post-graduation. I think a lot of people, when they graduate, they start to think about, okay, what's the next steps? It's not always directly involved with what you've learned. For example, I come from a computer security background, but that's not somewhere that I want to go to learn. I just look at it as more of a backup or more of a if worse comes to worse and what I want to do doesn't work, then that's the route that I'll take. When it comes to startups and things like that, I've always been interested in it. For those that know me, it's been sort of an interest of mine. Looking at, I think what attracted me is the exponential growth that you can achieve with starting so small. You could do so much. I think a lot of people are seeing it today. The value of just having an internet connection, and a working laptop. You can do incredible things. You can change a lot of lives with a simple tool like this. And I think that's what pushed me towards technology, and that's what made me interested in tech and business in general. If I look back at my interest in business, it was mainly, I could look back at when I was around year 10, year 11, when I went on a trip to Kenya. My family were planning a chicken farm. And so they were looking at a plot of land where they wanted to do a little bit of farming. And I saw the brainstorming and the session that they were having, and the stimulated conversations. And I thought to myself, this is something that I'd love to do, having these sort of conversations, what to do, how can we have reach capacity utilization with something small and make, a lot of money off it. And I thought to myself, I didn't realize that was an actual career path that someone could follow, doing business, working for themselves. I just thought you had to do the usual 9 to 5 types of jobs. And so that's what put me in that mindset. And I thought to myself, what could I do next that's cheap and won't cost me a lot as a student that I could play around with.
So was traveling abroad the catalyst to your entrepreneurial career?
Essentially, yeah. I'll say that one thing that happened back in 2012 was what sort of put me towards trying out entrepreneurship, and it's been a 8-year journey. I'm still learning. I haven't really built anything huge, but it's all been one long education.
No, definitely. So what was the process like from beginning, middle, and end? Were there other startups before Nuni.io? And what was it like back then compared to now, where we've seen the tech boom again, really?
Yeah, back then I think when I properly looked at the tech world was probably 2013. Around when I was year 11, I went together with a few friends and we built this thing. I think it's still online. It's called List Me Leicester or .io or .co.uk, sorry, something like that. Where all we did is we curated news from around Leicester. And so we put it up on the website, and the goal was to eventually get businesses to offer discounts and build a platform where we could do things like that. The past has been revolving around the same idea: how can I take offline businesses, local businesses, and how can I help them go online? And so after that, in college, I tried another thing. We went through this thing called Dragon's Den Enterprise, me and a couple of friends, and on there we came up with this thing that we called Quarter, where it was Foursquare basically. It was around the same time Foursquare was coming out, and then I suppose it could be before then, to be honest. I'm not really sure. So the idea was I'd go on a street, I'd write a street name down, and then I could find all the businesses on there, the reviews of the businesses and any information that I wanted. So I could be in the middle of I could be in the middle of Istanbul and I could write Taksim Square and see what businesses on there, what reviews. It's Google Maps essentially.
All the nice restaurants.
Yeah, all the nice restaurants, yeah, with the reviews. And so it was Foursquare and Google Maps now, which owns it now. So I think it's Google call it Google My Place or something like that. So that's we won that in college. I think we won like 200 quid off that. We didn't really develop it because none of us knew how to code properly. And then in uni, there was this thing called SCETHA, which stood for Small Companies Expanding Their Horizon Online. And what that did was the same thing to us. It was but this version we did coupons. So we'd get, in order to unlock this coupon, you had to share the company on your Twitter. You had to tweet about it, or you had to post it on Facebook. Those were the two main things people used back then in a way that you could really share towards. But now we would have probably done it with stories or Snapchat stories or something like that. And we had like 10 companies on there that were using it. But the problem with that was, first, we didn't market it properly, and we didn't really go for high value companies. So we went to companies that nobody were really interested in. There were 10 brands on there, but the 10 companies weren't really of interest to anybody, and so we couldn't really get it off the ground. And the tech was all MVP. It was all really, really minimal. So it wasn't really a viable proposition at the time.
That brings me on to my next question. What's one thing you wish you had known before you began your career in business?
Oh, to be honest, I'm still learning. I still don't know. It's more of a, I don't think I would have changed anything. I would have kept it the same way. When I look back at it, every step or everything that I was trying to do was on the right path, but I was slipping at different stages. Like the initial version, one thing I think, one consistent lesson that I've learned throughout all of these failed, things that I've been trying is, I would involve people that didn't want to get involved in the product, if that makes sense. And so I got into a habit where if I was excited about an idea, if I was excited about a business venture, I'd try pull in some friends to do it, but they weren't interested. Obviously, everybody has their own interests and their own things. So I'd try and convince someone to come and do what I want. I want them to do.
It's always hard finding a business partner when you can see the passion and the vision,
exactly.
but they can't see the same vision as you can. So it's really important to articulate the plan and the timeline before you get to in any business agreement with any individual.
100%. And you have to realize that you can't drag someone, you can't force someone to do something they don't want to do. And you end up in a situation where you're trying to convince someone every day to do something or to work on something. That's one of the main reasons, if you look at all sort of ideas that I've had with friends or with anybody, was everybody's excited, the first 3 days.
Until the work
afterwards
starts.
it's like, but then afterwards it's like, okay, who's going to do the work? Now it's time to hustle. Who's going to hustle? Who's going to follow up with this and get through, the difficult parts of starting an organization, starting a business? Who's going to actually go ahead and do these things? So you end up realizing that every idea, that's why one thing I would say is, if you have an idea that you're really excited about, and you want to bring on some people together, or if you come up with an idea with a few people, don't do anything the first day or the first week. Sleep on it. Do nothing but sleep on the idea. See if the excitement is still there. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
That's when you realize whether it's an actual viable thing or if it's not. Or if you're still excited, but the people around you aren't excited anymore, you have to have those difficult conversations and say, okay, I'm still happy with this. Are you guys still happy with this? Are you 100% sure?
Shiny object syndrome is really, really real.
Exactly.
So if anyone's listening and they have that next big business plan, the next big idea that's going to make them millions, take Mukhtar's advice and sleep on it. Take your time and don't rush into building or the business plan or building the team. Shiny object syndrome is real. I've suffered from it. I know a lot of others have suffered from it.
I have as well.
And you just go down a rabbit hole of all these figures in your head, all these plans, all these ideas that never get executed, or you will start to plan and not really put everything into it that needs for it to grow.
100%. 100%.
So yeah.
Even if you say on the topic of execution, when it comes to, and that's something I'm still learning today. Actually, in fact, that's probably the thing. One of the main things that I've learned on the journey so far with Luna is execution and consistency and patience are some of the most important things that you could ever have.
Vital.
Vital things for the success of what you call it, a product or a service or anything. Doing and consistently doing. So it's like, if you have an idea, execute first, plan next, then execute, plan next, and then go through that iteration
Literally.
consistently.
And what I'd add to that is perseverance.
Oh yes.
Perseverance is a great skill to have. If you have a plan, it doesn't go well, and you give up straight away, zero perseverance. But if you add perseverance to the mix, you will see it through.
100%.
So time and perseverance and passion will get you to the finish line. And yeah, if you're not passionate about something, you will know very early on, because you're not putting the time and effort it needs for it to grow.
100%. Even when it comes to ideas, the amount of times, some friends might have ideas that they want to share with me, or some ideas that I come up with myself. I think to myself, okay, this idea might be, an actual solution to a problem or something like that. And I feel like, okay, is this something that is this an industry, or is this a world I'm about to go into? Is this something that I'm passionate about? Is it something I'm already doing outside of just the idea? Was I doing it before? Was I involved with the people that would be, my customers?
Yeah,
The most successful ones, the most successful enterprise are the ones that you're using yourself, or you're involved in some way, and so that's how you could build something successful, is if you're in it every day, if you're involved in the community, if you're putting yourself out there, and you're taking the risk. Another thing is, one thing that I love to say is, having an idea
yeah,
is one thing. One thing to really test yourself is if you're very open about it. Be very open about it. Share it. You know what I mean? Put it up. Share it. Don't do anything. Don't build some random cryptic Instagram page that you put on your story a little bit, and then you click it, and then you're like, oh, what's going on? I've seen sometimes that I'm looking at Instagram page. I'm like, why did you share this? What is it? I'm looking at this page. I'm looking at who's following it, and I'm thinking, what's this product? It's got some cryptic thing like,
yeah.
oh, theoretical. Da, 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 da. I'm like, oh, what's happening? What's this about? It's not out there. There's no page, just a
But you
logo.
don't, yeah. So the logo, some content, but you don't know what the story of the business is.
What's the product?
It's really, really important to have that transparency and get your story across as soon as someone reaches your platform or website. Because if I click on a website and I don't know what the story is, what is this telling me? What am I supposed to gauge from coming onto your platform? It's it's like knocking on someone's door and all they do is open it, or the other way around. Sorry, if someone knocks on your door and you open the door and they just stare at you blankly, just like that.
Exactly. That's a really good analogy. Yeah, it's like you need to tell this person that's at your door, or even before they enter the door. You need to have something on the door for them
And
to even open it. Do you know what I mean? So it's
absolutely,
like, one thing that I find that nobody, like, at least building a website, that's something. Like, I see something, what I've come across, and trying to talk from, who would most likely be listening. When you're on an Instagram page with nothing on it, what's the purpose of the Instagram page? And you're sharing it, and you're getting people to, your friends and stuff to follow it. That's really good to get, friends and people supporting. That's really awesome. But are they your main customers? Like, for example, I've come across a page that says, I don't know, marketing agency, for example. And then I see, people telling me, oh, follow this page and stuff, and share it and things like that. And I'm seeing people doing that, and friends are sharing it and liking it. And people are like, this is a cool new thing. But it's like, who is the customer? I'm not the customer. Your friends aren't the customers. The people sharing it aren't the customers. It ups your follower numbers,
yeah,
yeah, but is useless. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
There's no real value there. So instead of the first instinct for everybody, I'm number one as well with this problem. You build an Instagram page for it, and you get friends to follow it, and you build a nice logo, and you do the branding, and you do this and that. It's like, you need to scrap all of that, scrap the whole thing, build a landing page, put something on there, minimal branding, put some a little bit on there, and then put it out there, put some, a little bit of money behind it on Facebook, or target a couple of people, see who's interested, see if you get people signing up and buying it. that's when you know that you might have something. You might have something that might succeed. Instead
Absolutely.
of building an Instagram page to get people to follow it, build a
And
landing page.
it's one thing getting your friends to follow your page. That like friends, that's what friends are for. Friends are for support. Your family support you. Your friends support you. But are they really going to buy from you? They're not your customers. You've planned and you found your niche well before you made the Instagram page. So why are you marketing to your friends and family? There's a whole world out there that want your product. Um,
Exactly. Exactly. So
and
exactly that's the main thing. If you get 100 people following you versus 100 signups from your target audience, like, do you know what I mean? Like, who's the
massive
one that's gonna fill
difference.
my pocket? Yeah, yeah, that's the main difference. 100 signups from potential, target audience versus 100 followers on Instagram page that nobody knows what it's about and it's cryptic. So
It
that's
will get
that's
misleading as well. Like to your customers, to your followers, say, cool, your friends follow you, they like you, yeah. So we'll look at it from a personal brand standpoint. Your friends, and essentially, like your personal brand. They like you for you. But when you bring a business to the mix, they don't know what this business is. The business is foreign to them. They have no ties to that business. So once they follow it and post it on their stories for the first week or so, and it's only your friends that are following this page and supporting it,
exactly
give it 1 or 2 weeks before that trickles down. You'll see the results. So when you have your ideal customer in mind from the start and you're not focusing on, say, marketing to friends and family, that's when you actually have a business, a growing business. um, and another advice I'll give to our listeners is be transparent. Your followers, your customers need to see who you are in order for them to feel comfortable to buy from you. So don't be afraid
100%.
to take out your phone once in a while, record a video or go on Instagram live and answer some questions, because you're building trust. The more times they see your face, the more times that you answer their questions, trust is being built. And
100%. I can
they
completely agree
shouldn't
with that.
not, and you shouldn't take that for granted. Sorry.
100%. And another thing is finding uh your audience. Like, if I look right now in the past month, I would say, from what I've seen, from being on Instagram with seeing what friends are posting and things like that, and I see a lot of, for example, food products that are coming out, bakeries and things like that, which I think is sick. The thing is, the thing with bakeries and sweet products that I've seen, and like makeup stuff, Instagram is the platform for that. It's a visual product. Their friends and of friends and friends liking it, they're
Yeah.
gonna purchase. Like the cake that we had for Eid, for example, in my family. I got it from some friend of mine sharing it, a page from his family member, I think, that did it. So I thought this is really cool. I looked at the pictures. I thought this is awesome. Let me buy my Eid cake from here. So
Do you know
sometimes
the
it
Insta?
works.
Do you know the Insta handle? We can.
The Insta handle, I forgot what it was called. It's called Anna.km, I think, or
Oh,
Anna
bro,
by.
yeah, yeah. I bought one as well. I
You
think,
bought from as well.
yeah,
Khadija,
Anna
I think her name is.
by, yeah. Really nice
Very nice.
cakes.
Very, very nice. I had the Lotus Biscoff one. It's very nice. The thing is, her marketing would work there. If we take her as an
Definitely,
example, she
definitely.
takes beautiful videos, and like, where she even did one where she was breaking the biscuit. You see the oozing chocolate coming out of it. That
It
thing,
was Sully that promoted it, and as soon
yeah.
as I seen it, I was like, I need one of that. And then,
See, you got it from
then
Sue. Yeah, I got it from
yeah,
Ibado. I think, yeah, that's who I went on it through him.
yeah,
So the thing
yeah.
is, friends of friends sharing it. I'm not familiar with her, but then I'm familiar with. We have mutuals, so the mutual shared it, and I was a potential customer. I was a prospect. So I went, I looked, and I bought. You know what I
The
mean, I'll
power.
convert to
That's the power of
power. Yeah,
marketing. Good marketing.
exactly. So
Um,
she understood the target audience. If
definitely.
she went and started posting those cakes on LinkedIn, for example, zero, zero orders.
No, you never know.
But then
Like before the pandemic, if I seen that and I had a full office full of hungry people, I'll place an order. But
hundred
yeah,
percent,
LinkedIn is not the
100%.
place for cupcakes and
For that,
cakes,
yeah, it just wouldn't
desserts.
work. Do you know what I mean? But
No, you're
then
right.
that works, because friends are the ones that are the ones that are going to purchase it. But then when it becomes a service, if you've got a service or a software, like in my case, then Instagram isn't the best place to promote and to try and convert people. Like I've on my, if you look at the Nuni's Instagram page, is mainly people that I know. You know, what I mean? They're the people that follow the page.
Yeah,
It's people
definitely.
that are my friends and friends of friends that are following it, that are interested in what the product does and where the product is going. And so I use it as a way to to diarize. I'm not using it to convert anybody. I'm just using it as a way to diarize and document the journey I'm having with uni. And I've only realized that in the last month, because before then I'll post things that are related to uni, in terms of trying to tell people what the product is and what it does and stuff like that. I think that I'll still continue but I'm going to turn it into a more of a brand awareness exercise instead. Instead, I would be like, oh, this is what I'm doing. Like the other day, I posted a picture of myself with a roller banner that I bought, and I thought, okay, this is a new thing. Let me post a picture of that, and I'd get higher engagement on those on LinkedIn, on Instagram, because friends of friends are interested in what's Mukhtar doing, like what's the product like now, or what what you're up to, and things like that. So I'd feed into that and just be like, okay, I'm just gonna let you guys know what I'm doing. On LinkedIn, though, it's a completely different story. My page on there is 100% target audience, is 100% direct to consumer, content marketing. And that's on
LinkedIn's
LinkedIn is
where
very
the
different.
business happens.
That's where the business happens. That's where my target audiences are. So that's where I need to be. And I need to be in front of them there. So I'm connecting with them there. I'm talking to them there. I'm meeting them every day on Zoom on there. So that's where most of my activity and where I post the most is there. Whereas Instagram is more of a documenting brand awareness type of exercise.
Getting the message across and taking your followers through the timeline of start to the current stage of business, which brings me on to my second question. How did the idea of uni start, and what was your focal point when uni began?
Yeah, it began quite a while ago. It started in the initial idea stage, or I'd say the root of the idea came in like March 2017, where I have a notepad, like I think most people do that are interested in business, where you write a bunch of ideas down. I had it on my phone. I use Evernote. I completely recommend them if anybody's listening. Download Evernote for your note keeping. So I wrote something on there around 2017 about students and uni, ways where older students could help younger students. So the whole basis of it was communication, and that stayed true. The solution and the target audience has changed, but the problem hasn't changed. The problem is still the same thing today. And so back then, that was the idea. And then there was this girl that I worked with at the Kickstarter company that had an idea about tutoring and things like that. So in that conversation, I thought, oh, this is around 2018, and I thought, oh, last year I had an idea like this. So I showed them the note. Then I started, playing around with the idea again. And then once I graduated, I realized, during that final year as well, we had a lot of issues, communication between the lecturers and the students. So when I'm in a lecture, most people, you bring your laptop and stuff, you make some notes on there. Then the real problems, like the real core of the topics and the content being taught, you don't really learn in the lecture. You learn after the lecture, in the evening. And so I thought to myself, how do you actually make this thing worthwhile? Because I don't know if anybody knew, but the one lecture costs £70. If you average it out, 9K a year is £70 per lecture on average. I'm paying £70 per hour to sit in this lecture. What am I actually learning from it? And instead of watching someone with slides, in front of me, how do you create? It's supposed to be engaging, so that's when you start missing lectures, but you're still paying that 70 quid. And so you're not really taking advantage of this, even though you're like, you know what, I'll look at it later and I'll just go to the seminars, the tutorial classes where you have more engagement with the lecturer to understand the content. But what's the point of having a lecture then? So I thought, how can we, revolutionize that and change that up to make it more engaging and more a two-way thing instead of a one-way thing? And so I spoke to a few lecturers and stuff. They were resonated with the idea. I talked to them. I sat down with them because I didn't want to, focus on something that didn't really have any traction or anything. So I spoke to them, and they said, yes, we get about 14% response rate on the surveys they have at the end of the year, the modules, because nobody really cares. And so they're not able to use the data that they collected. So, okay, if I do something here in the lectures, then they can use that data to understand whether the lecture's, useful or not, if people are understanding it or not, things like that. And so, long story short, over time we were iterating. And so we came up with this, where the Q&A tool, where students can ask questions to the lecturers. But then the problem was, near the end of 2019, so I spent throughout 2019, I spent on developing this product, working on it, teaching myself to code and developing it. Then I met, my co-founder, David. And David is a full stack developer. We met on indiehackers.com. He's a very, very talented developer and very, very experienced developer as well. He's worked on projects that have garnered over 100,000 users, and he understands the architecture of technology and how to build an actual platform where it can withstand multiple users and things like that. And he was quite he saw the idea as well in where he's in Europe, so we are a remote team, and he's seen the same issues over at his university that he graduated from recently as well, and we graduated around the same time. And so we ended up speaking to one of the director for innovation in teaching.
Yeah,
We were
sorry.
in dialogue with him.
I'll cut you off there. Sorry.
Yeah,
You was on a roll. You was on fire.
I was just
I just want to
explaining
pause
everything. I was
you
trying to
right
rush it
there.
all out.
There's no stop button.
Yeah,
But I want to stop you right there because it's really interesting. You said you found your co-founder on Indie Hackers, which is
yes,
superb. There's a lot of entrepreneurs in the tech world that do find their business developers or business co-founders on Indie Hackers to grow into building a successful tech business. But what was the actual process like from
yeah.
posting
Um,
on the forum to
mm.
auditing through all the different candidates to finally landing on your business partner today?
Yeah. So yeah, it was a more of a I'd probably call it more of a desperate cry for help, more like, because that during that period of time it was quite tough, because I'm working part time to support myself while I'm trying to do this project because I was quite passionate about it. And that's when around the same time I did this after I left the company I was working for and after I graduated. And so I thought to myself, instead of finding a professional job, a career job, let me take advantage of my youth right now while I have time to actually play around and figure it out and go all the way, not just do it part-time, don't do it, half, but go all the way. And so during the summer of 2019, it was quite tough because things weren't working out. The project was dead essentially because we lost focus of it. And that's one problem when you work on something for quite a while. You end up is that the shiny object syndrome that you're talking about, where you just lose track and you're like, where's this thing going that you're trying to steer? And so around while I was going through that, that's when I posted on Indie Hackers, because I was quite active on there, where I tell people is a forum where you can keep people updated and you can be quite open, because everybody's working on their own project, and it helps you keep you on your toes. And so I posted on there and I said, this is what I've done. I've got the connections with the universities. I've built an MVP product by myself. I'm looking for a developer trying to help me take this to the next level. So I'm looking for a co-founder here, not just someone that is going to work for money. And so I put it out there, and I had interest from people all over the world. But I was hoping someone in the UK, but I couldn't find anyone in the UK. That was open to the surprisingly hard to find out. I even talked to a recruitment company to try and see if there's anybody open to working on a project, because you're telling somebody to work on a project that's 50-50, it's not guaranteed, and you're also telling them you're not going to get paid right now because there's no money in this at the moment. But if it works out, the upside is exponential, and so that's the risk that I was selling. And so David hit me up. He goes, "Yo, I'm a recent graduate as well. I'm in the same boat. I'm looking for something to do." He's got a tremendous accolades behind him in terms of developing. And we had a couple meetings. I looked at the work that he did on his GitHub. And one thing that helps is you can't just say, I want to work with a developer. You need to have some level of understanding of technology, because there's people out there
In the
that
game.
might, yeah, so there's people that out there that might be like, oh, I want to develop something, but they have zero knowledge of the software development methodologies and anything like that. Luckily, from my uni experience and from my degree, I understood that. And of course, I taught myself how to code, so I understood that as well. So when I was looking at his code, I knew this wasn't somebody that's just blagging it. I looked at the code and I understood this man knows what he's doing. He's very, very talented. And then that's what made me comfortable to say, you know what, let's go ahead and do it, because you know what you're doing. And luckily, there's only an hour difference between us. He's in mainland Europe, and so I thought, yeah, let's just make it happen. It's a risk at the end of the day. There's only so much. There's only a level of carefulness that you can have.
Absolutely.
And so yeah, and I've been very lucky. Me and him, we've hit it off. We're smashing it at the moment. Our relationship is really good. We're very,
Brilliant.
very honest with each other as well. And so finding that, you need to, as someone, if you're someone that's looking for a partner, and you're in tech, for example, or whichever industry you're in, you need to understand the entire product. You need to understand everything from marketing, sales, all the way to development and code. You need to know everything, not necessarily know how to code, but you need to understand the fundamentals of software development and the methodologies that exist and best practice and things of that nature, and to be able to make the right decisions.
Thank you for that, Mukhtar. Can you give us a walkthrough of Nuni.io so we're just more familiar with it and know what it does? Well, I know what it does. I know it's a powerful app, but for our audience and other keynote speakers or event managers would like to see a product today.
Could you give me the access to screen share?
Absolutely. Since you asked nicely, yeah, I'll do that for you, mate.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, let's just share that screen. Okay, yes, I'm just on the landing page right now. So this landing page here we just use to direct people to come and talk to us and let us know. So one thing is you play around. There's so much technology out there. You can play around with things like this book a meeting thing. If I click, I can get people to book a meeting with me here directly, and I get an email notifications, which I thought was pretty cool. It's called Calendly. So it's a small thing, but it automates that little bit of back and
Very
forth
powerful,
conversation. Yeah.
Very direct.
But yeah, so yeah. And so this right here is Leicester Co-working Hub. This is one of the organizations that we work with. And the way they use it is they use it as a virtual event. They used to do physical meetups, but now of course, it's all virtual. And they use this to introduce people into their organization and to store discussions that they have in their weekly meetups. And we've given them their own instance. We call it a realm, and so they have their own corner of Nuni. And so on this landing page, they can customize it the way they want to. They've got their logo there, a little bit of information about them, and if you click, find out more, that'll take you straight to their website.
Just a bit more about Leicester Co-working Hub. For you guys that are not from Leicester, Leicester Co-working Hub is a network of like-minded individuals that are into business and all co-working to helping each other. Every Wednesday we do have meetups, a mastermind, some may call it, which is very, very beneficial to growing a business, especially going through a pandemic like such. Getting advice from 8, 9, 10 different individuals who are working to find a solution to many different problems. It's an honor to be a part of those talks on Wednesdays.
They're great.
Between
they're great.
12 and 2 o'clock.
Yeah, usually, yeah.
So
I'll quickly log in here. So once log in with your account, I've got a demo account here, and so we've split it into 3 different tools. The presentation one refers to the events, so when they're asking questions. So you can imagine this in a physical sense as well as the virtual sense, and hybrid as well, which is the ones that we're positioning ourselves as. Hybrid is when you have the majority of the attendees that come to your event are all virtual, so they're probably watching through a YouTube stream or some a Zoom session or something, and you get a small, maybe 30-40% of the attendees are physically there with social distancing now, and so we unify the platform, we unify the 2 audiences on Uni, so they can all ask the question on the same platform and network on here. And so these are 3 different.
Where can we find these hybrid events? Is there like a platform or?
Yeah, no, with these hybrid events, it all depends on the event that you go to. So whichever event you're interested in, they're either virtual, they're physical in a location in a venue, or they're hybrid. So they're in a virtual place and they're in a venue. Nice. When and now there's lots of conversation happening now where people are starting to plan these hybrid events, so they're going to become quite regular. And so you might start seeing a lot of them using Nuni as well. So what we're doing here is we've got the 3 different events that they've had previously, and so if we go to this one here that they've had in April, you can see Hami is the organizer of it. He's one of the sort of founding members, and he's got his socials on here, and you can find out more information about him. And so here's all the list of different anonymous questions that people have been asking during the talks, and so they use this to store all the conversations that they were having on Zoom. And so if you go on here, most upvoted questions, you can see, the top most upvoted will come to the top. So it's quite simple in that manner. And so that's the basic overview of that. And then we've got the networking section here, which is a list of all the different people that are part of the organization. For example, Rapinda here, if we look at what she does, she's an interior designer in Leicester. So she does interior design for cafes and restaurants and things like that. And so if you're interested in any of that, you can hit her up. So I can literally just click on her LinkedIn, for example, if I'm interested, and see the sort of stuff she does on here. And I can also go to, went back to her LinkedIn. I mean, if I go to her Instagram there, for example, I can see all the different work that she's done, which is she's quite talented.
Really, really talented.
Very talented, yeah. And so that's what the networking is, just so you know who else is there, so you can make the right connections at the events. And so we target business events. And so when you're at business events, the majority of the people there are business and people that want to make relationships and build.
It's great you said that. So what platform do you use to market mostly?
That's why we're on LinkedIn. Yeah, I probably should have said that earlier. Yeah, but yeah, we're on LinkedIn because we target business events. And so it's like we were talking about earlier, you need to niche down your target audience. And so we're targeting business events because the events industry is £40 billion. This includes concerts and everything. So it's quite a big industry. So we're just focusing on that small corner, business
But you're
events.
not only niche down, but you found a niche within a niche with these hybrid events. And you positioned yourself nicely before hybrid events become a thing for Uni to be the house name in that industry. So that's really great. For our listeners that don't know what positioning is exactly what Mukhtar just done now. He's seen an opportunity and he's capitalizing on that new opportunity, which is hybrid events. So when you see something opening up, which you can coin, so if you can coin the term hybrid events, when people speak about hybrid events, they will automatically speak about Uni. I'm hoping that's the goal.
That's what we're hoping. That's what we're hoping. Yeah, we're hoping to. We didn't come up with the hybrid events. They've been going on for a while, but they haven't been big at all. Only recently has virtual been a thing, and now that everybody's virtual, everybody's thinking about how can we go to physical. And so they're two hugely different things. And so it's a big jump to go between the two. And so we've positioned ourselves in the middle with hybrid events, which is a very small thing. And there's different ways in doing hybrid events. You can either have just the speakers there and everybody online, or you can have a small portion of people physically there and the majority of the people online. And so it's quite different ways of doing it. And so the ones that we're positioning ourselves inside of hybrid business events is the ones that have a small portion of physically there and a large portion online. And so we're positioning ourselves with that, not just the ones that have only speakers there, So we're niching down inside that niche itself. So there's a specific niche inside the hybrids.
So just to go deeper and make it much more clear to our listeners that are not too familiar with what positioning is, we'll take, for example, Moncler, a high-end fashion brand, and we compare it with Canada Goose, which is still in fashion, but they have niched down to focus on colder seasons. So that's their position. Their customers are people who are looking for jackets that will keep them comfortable and warm all year round. Whereas Moncler are looking for customers who want to be fashionable and carry that statement through their clothing, their fashion sense, and have that status of wearing a luxury brand. So positioning is really important, and I hope that you could
look into it if you've got an idea in your head right now. You're listening. Look into what it is that you're doing. Like, for example, if we take the idea of Anna by KM, for example, her cakes and stuff is quite niche down. And so what she does, I think she does like
bro, I don't. I've never seen a cake like
that.
Like that before. That's why I jumped at the opportunity of trying one. I was like, I want that.
It's niche down. You know what I mean? She's gone and she capitalized on the festive period as well. And so we've sort of done the same thing. If we look at the events industry, it's a big event industry. So we went to business events or networking of business events. And then we went down into that. We said the format of the event, which is hybrid. And so inside the hybrid event, we went for the ones that have some physical attendees there at the venue and some online audiences as well. And so that's the the sort of niche that we want to push and the ones that we feel has the our product has the biggest impact in. So if I go back to this here, for example, this is like the stats page where we can essentially show you, how many questions did you ask, and then we could show you, how many what you call it of those did you get and things like that. And so you can use this as a way to track, how impactful are your conversations. And then we've got
So you're
just a list
telling
of.
me,
Mhm.
so you're telling me I can make my events that much better with the data Uni gives me.
Yes, use a data-driven, that's what we call it, data-driven events. Use data to improve your event. And you can imagine how this could have been implemented in universities as well originally. It's like, I don't think I explained why we're in events now. We went from universities, like I was speaking about earlier, because there's too much bureaucracy inside universities, I'm not going to lie. There's way too much bureaucracy. And then we got the opportunity because I reconnected with an old school friend, and we had the opportunity to test the product at TEDx Leicester in December, and we did an event with 150 attendees and 9 different speakers. The scary thing there was it was a big opportunity to physically be able to do the talk there, and we also did it at a small workshop as well. But it went from just something that me and David were doing to now people were actually interacting with this platform in real life and physically seeing value. And so
Yeah,
that takes you from an idea to a minimum viable product that's being tested and used. And so that's completely changed our game, and we opened ourselves up to so much
that's
opportunity.
absolutely amazing. So with this bureaucracy in
Mhm.
the educational system
Yeah,
and the barriers you faced, you haven't just given up um, and just said, "Oh, it's too hard. Let me stop there." You
yeah,
pivoted. You've maneuvered through the course and
yeah,
found yourself on on the internet and using the internet as your realm to do anything you like. And I'll go off that by saying we are living in egalitarian times. Um, everything is up for grabs. Everyone's on
100%.
the same playing field. There's no bosses. There's no head of ministers. There's well before there was uh, barrier to entry. I'd
Yeah, yeah.
say, but now is you the choice to actually make changes up to you.
It's just you and
We
your
have
laptop, man.
yeah you your laptop, your phone. We have all these platforms like Instagram. No one can cap your followers, so no one can cap your customers.
100%.
You make the
Knowledge is
website.
out there.
Yeah,
If you look at it, knowledge is out there. There's literally nothing
yeah.
except
So
you
you make the
stopping yourself
website.
from doing things.
You make the website. You have your shop. You run the shop. Before, say 30 years ago, you would have to get a
Leases
lease, a
and
landlord, to someone that owns the property. You would have to get certification to actually sell what you're selling. Now you just make a website, you have a product. Your product might be in China if you're using e-commerce, and you never actually see the product. So we live
yeah,
in
that's
simpler,
incredible.
simpler times. Um, Before, where there was bureaucracy, someone would say, "No, you can't do this." But now the
Yeah,
internet says, "Yes, you can. You can do
yeah,
it." I
exactly,
like
exactly.
so. Yeah, don't
It's
take
true.
no's lightly. When someone says no, think how can I do this without this person? You have all these powerful platforms: YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Google, all these engines that can drive you to success. But what gear are you on?
Exactly, exactly. There's literally absolutely nothing stopping you from trying things like you're saying. When you have a lease on a shop versus you can literally have a Shopify store open in 24 hours
Yeah,
and you've got your first customers. That's
open for business.
unprecedented levels of opportunities out there. Like the crazy
And the
thing is if
great
you
thing
think about
about
it,
it, bro, the great thing about that is uncapped. So
uncapped potential.
the energy you're putting in is what you're getting out.
100%. Like there's these guys I saw on YouTube. I forgot who they were, but they are a travel couple, and they saved up. I think they said about $15,000, to travel the world for a year. And so their plan was to travel the world for a year, document it on YouTube. If it flops, then they'd go back to a job. So what they did is, while they were traveling, their YouTube blew up, and they started selling courses and doing all these other things. And they ended up indefinitely traveling for 4 years. And they were making, about 50 to 100K every month from their YouTube and the Patreon and all of these other online platforms that help you create income for yourself. And it's like, that would never have happened 10 years ago. We don't have to look that far back. 10 years ago, that would not have happened. That would have been a
Definitely
dream.
not. Definitely
There's
not.
people making, how much these meme pages, for example, look how much they're making off their phone. Instagram is not even that popular. You can't even
Yeah.
upload things on the website on the laptop. That's just the phone that they're making this kind of money from. So
From
there's opportunity
1990,
everywhere. Just carve your own one out.
yeah, like pave your journey. So yeah, I'll go off of that and say, yeah, from 1995 up until early 2010, there were countless of like millionaires selling domains. So
Oh yeah,
I could buy
yeah.
www.dogs.com 2 years later, sell it for 15 mil. So that's the power of the
Yeah.
internet. Since then, obviously, it's become much more diverse. It's now harder to crack down on niches and find product market fit because there's so many things that's already been done. But if you take two
On that point though,
elements, if you take two elements from different spectrums and put it together, you have a new product market fit
there
and a
you go.
whole
Yeah,
sub niche they can sell to.
as long as
There's
the
7
product is
billion
there.
people in the world. Pick the corner of the world that you want to, well, not the corner of the world, the corner of the internet you want to market to. That could be hundreds of thousands, and start selling.
Exactly. Like if you look at from going off on that, you see um, the number of different, we call it SaaS, like the company that Nuni, for example, is a SaaS product, which stands for software as a service. And then if you look at that, for example, Nuni I did not build something that's completely never been seen before, not at all. There's for example, my competitor's one that's been going on for 8 years, but I didn't realize what's going on until a couple of months ago. You get there's competitors out there. Like, that's one thing that you learn is, you cannot build something that's never been done before. It's so, the likelihood of that, even if you do come up with something that's never been done before, maybe there's no clients for that, or the problem has been solved in a different manner. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like, how do you come up in
For
solving the same
every new
problem in a
thing,
different way?
there's no end product. There's always going to be the newer
100%.
version. So don't be
100%.
afraid to go against your competitors when you're like only small and they're over here. Look at what they're doing wrong and how you can make what they're doing right even better.
100%. Like, how can you do something that no competitors doing? The way that, for example, in my case, the way that we differentiated ourselves was, for example, this Q&A feature is Zoom's got the Q&A feature. Do you know what I mean? For example, so it's like, it's not a completely revolutionized tool, but the way that we use it and the way that we position it is different, is unique. And so we match it with networking, we match it with community, and we focus it around hybrid events and how to unify your audiences and how to build relationships between your attendees. For example, we're the only tool in our space that asks users to log in, for example. And so people think that that's a barrier. It's a barrier for them to play around with the product. But the people that do end up interacting and going on there will see the benefit for them, because we're not only doing it for for the event organizer to benefit from it, but we want the attendee to benefit from it as well. This opens up huge opportunities that we can take advantage of in the future, and then we carving out a new platform or a new technological solution or value. We're adding value in a different way in the future. So doing what we're doing now, we're planning ahead in the future, where whatever we do now, whatever value we can create right now, we'll be able to benefit our clients in the long run. So that's one of the things that we have to be able to communicate with our clients, saying, yeah, you can do this over there, but you can't have this benefit down the line. So it's like, yeah, you can eat chocolate right now, but you won't look good later on. So so we play the long game. We're like, okay, do you want to have a healthy run, or do you want to have a short-term success? So that's the way we position ourselves. We want to have a long relationship with the client, and so you have to figure out how can you convince them of the value that you can provide in the long run, not just the short term. How can you differentiate yourself and carve your, your slice in there? The good thing is, if you have an idea that somebody has already done, it's been proven, keep going. Don't stop.
Exactly.
Keep going. If nobody has done it before, think twice.
Yeah, literally. If someone's already done it, there's customers there.
Yeah.
So they can't feed all the customers, but you definitely can take a portion of that and make it much better.
Take your slice. It's
So,
like Facebook. If you look at Facebook, if I just say this last thing, Facebook, for example, was not the first social media platform at all. There was Friendster, and there was these other
MySpace,
and there was these MySpace. Yeah, see, there was like all of these ones that were out there. So many you can count. So many. There was even one that had artificial intelligence. AR. I think they call it AR.
No way.
Augmented reality. Yeah, augmented reality.
Before Facebook.
And so before Facebook, but it never took off. I forgot the name, but it never took off because
way before their time. Yeah.
And so what did Facebook do? All they had was a bit of profiles, and they niched. They went all the way down to just university students in Harvard University, and they built up from there and became the conglomerate that they are. And you have to find your tiny niche that nobody is focusing on, and then build up from there.
That's literally. So what advice would you give someone that's just only starting their journey through a tech-based business, and how would you guide them through that journey?
I would say probably from what I've learned so far, I'd say is wherever you had the initial idea is probably not going to be the same. So don't fall in love with the solution, fall in love with the problem. That's what I would say. So don't romanticize features and tools and things like that, because these are only tools to help you solve a problem. Because you have to remember, at the end of the day, I would say it doesn't matter what you do. Like if I could do in uni or solve the problem that I'm trying to solve without technology, I would still do it. If I could use a unique book, if I create a different type of book that I could that could solve the problem, I'd build the book. Because at the end of the day, you have to romanticize the problem that you're trying to solve and fall in love with the problem and fall in love with the value that you provide your target audience, and then they'll come flocking to you. They're like that's what I would say: fall in love with the problem, not the solution.
Very well put. And I'll follow up with another question. What are the best resources that has helped you along this way?
Undoubtedly, for my case, indie hackers, 100%. What Cortland has done with that is incredible. Definitely, indie hackers has been resourceful. And go to your local universities. You get so much support from local universities. If you have an idea, go ahead, and do that. Read books like The Mom Test by Rob Fitzpatrick. That's a really, really good book to start thinking about things. The Lean Startup by Eric Ries. That's another classic. And one I'm reading now called The Storyboard is a really good one as well. I forgot who the author was, but The Storyboard discusses a framework of thinking, a framework of testing ideas. And so when you're early, really, really dig deep into, it doesn't even matter if you're in technology or not, but really dig deep into these types of books, because it helps you frame your thinking. It helps you, figure out what the questions are that you need to ask. And another thing is, before you've even written a single line of code, if you can code, or single line of a website, or before you even bought the domain name, you need to talk to who you think would purchase your product. Just say, yo, do you have 5 minutes? I've got this idea that I just want to run you past. And then use the mom test and the storyboard to try and articulate your questions in a way that doesn't give up the idea. And it helps you, structure your thinking and get the right value out of the person that you're speaking to.
Definitely. And I would add to that book list, I would say definitely read Start With Why by Simon Sinek. It will really help you get to the root cause that you're trying to solve. And where there's solution, there's business. And I want to ask you a few more questions. Who are 3 people who have influenced you the most throughout this journey?
Ooh, three people have influenced me the most. Who personally, or you mean business wise? People that
Uh,
I've watched, or
business wise and personally.
yeah. Um, I'll probably say, there's some, some friends I would say have been really really helpful. My dad, surprisingly, believe it or not, he's been a good which could advisor, business advisor. Um, I'd also say uh, Sam Hudson, very, 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 talented SaaS founder. He's exited a few companies, so really learning from him has been huge as a mentor, and I'm still learning from him every day. And also, you know, it's quite a tough one. The co-working hub, our beta users, they've been incredible. The knowledge shared, the amazing group of people, and that you can comfortably, run past, things like that I'm not sure about, that I don't know, which is like majority of the time, and I just run past these people and say, listen, I'm struggling with this, or I'm thinking about doing this. Is this the right move to do? Is it not the right move to do? So I think um, uh, getting the clarity, or them helping with the clarity, has been really good.
Definitely. And if you had £200,000 to invest into uni right now, how do you break that cost down and why?
Ooh, £200,000 is a lot of money. What would I do with that? In terms of uni, first thing, I'd be full time. Me and my co-founder would be 100% full time, working on the product. We'd probably, most of that would probably go towards maybe a couple of team members, put a team together, allocate some money towards marketing, and really just ample everything that we're doing already. Times 100 or times 200.
Absolutely, that's great. If I was an investor, I would have opened my wallet from the first answer you've given. So, what is one common myth about your profession or field that you want to debunk? So, anything to do with
Oh,
the tech industry.
oh yeah. One thing I'd say to debunk is you have to be a developer to start a tech company. I
Oh,
want to debunk that here, and
that's a really
I
good
want to
one.
set that record straight. You do not have to know how to code to be able to start. But what I was saying earlier, I don't want to,
No code army, please
no
stand
code
up.
army. Oh my days, that's the future. If anybody's listened all the way up to here,
No,
what I'd say though
I'll
is
take that with chess because I can't code in it. So,
the 100, fam, like I'm telling you, all of the things I did before was without code. This is the first thing I did with code. But Webflow, Figma, Adobe XD, Canva, like oh my days, there's so much stuff out there.
so
Glide,
much.
there's a Bubble, there's so much good no code solutions that you can develop incredible software that does really good stuff. I'm talking like production level software without writing a
Literally.
single line of code.
You
Like
can
it's
start a
incredible.
whole software as a service business using no code platforms.
No code whatsoever. And when it says a tech company, it doesn't have to just be tech. Like you could start a tech company with a website. Do you know what I mean? You could call yourself a tech company. If you sell online, you're a tech company. And so it says like there's I want to debunk that. Like you do not have to be a hardcore developer or anything like that. But what I would say is if you are gonna go to do bespoke software or anything like that, and an app and those types of things, what I would say is understand uh, software development, understand what methodologies exist, understand what best practices are, just so you do not get fobbed off by anybody. And one thing I would say is, if you have an idea, do not pay anybody. If you have an idea, don't pay anybody unless you 100% know that you're gonna have customers, and don't spend a lot of money developing wireframes for an app and then paying an app developer to develop a £5,000 app, and you haven't even talked to a single person who's going to purchase it. Don't ever be that person. Create a web application. That's the future anyway. Lots of people are still using, laptops. People are still using their browsers. Go and develop a web application using these no-code platforms and test out the product. Before you even go to these no-code platforms, get a landing page that'll cost you nothing. Get a landing
Try
page,
get
put
your
something
first
quick
to
together.
100 users before you invest your money into something
Yes.
that may or may not succeed.
Yes, and every move has to have evidence. Don't do something without backing. Don't do something without understanding that this is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
As I mean, that's one thing I would say is that you have to be very, very careful with every move that you make.
Be
There are some
diligent.
gut feeling moves, but
When
then
you,
even with the gut feeling, it has a little bit
yeah,
of
be diligent. When you're
diligent.
thinking
Yes,
strategy, think checkmate theory. What's this
yes,
move? What's this move going to do for me? What other moves can I make after I make this one? Plan ruthlessly and iterate quickly, and you'll find
100%.
success. So, Mukhtar, where can our listeners find you online?
Yeah, you can find me on, you can follow on Instagram, Nuni.io, or follow me, Raage, and you can find me, Nuni, on LinkedIn.
Moo Raage.
You could Raage, yeah, it's a
Mo Raage.
awkward.
Oh,
It's
was
hard.
that your
It
Insta?
looks good, but don't
Yeah,
say
yeah.
it.
No, the thing is, yeah, that's the first time I heard you say it, innit?
Yeah,
That's how I was shocked. I was like, what?
is that how it sounds?
Is that how it sounds?
Yeah. So you get
No,
that
literally.
Raage like the cow, and then Rage.
One,
Find
so
me
is
on
it 1 O, not MOO, like the cow.
Moo. It's two O's.
It's 2 O's.
Like the
I'm gonna check
cow.
that right now. Like the
Check
cow.
like the cow, two O's, R and Rage, two A's. But yeah, and you can find me on LinkedIn,
Moo
of course, if you're on
Raage.
there. If you want to follow, yeah. So if you want to see the content that I do for Nuni and you want to see me interacting with potential clients and things like that, follow me on LinkedIn, and you can. That's where the real activity is.
And the last question for you, Mukhtar. Uh, Thank you very much for coming on to the checkmate theory. I would like to ask you, what is your checkmate theory?
Oh, that's a good question. First of all, yeah, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. I don't want to give one thing. I don't want to. If anybody's listened this far, don't take what I say with a grain of salt. Obviously, do your own research as well, and also I'll say don't follow. Not every person's journey is the same as yours. You need your journey is unique to yours, and so take the
Definitely.
advice that you hear here or the value that you find from this podcast and every other checkmate a strategic podcast. Make the game personal to you. Every no two chess games are the same. So you have to what do you call it, focus it,
Life's a game
make
of
sure that you make the
chess.
right moves that are unique to
Play
you.
your game. That's what
Play
Mukhtar
your
just said.
game, exactly. The pawns might be the same, but the players aren't.
Boom.
So boom.
On that note, we're coming to a close. Thank you very much, Mukhtar.
No
Um,
worries.
I like what you're doing. You have a powerful app. You have a drive.
Thank you,
Um,
thank you,
so yeah, we look forward to seeing what comes out of uni.
thank
For
you.
any event planners, events managers, keynote speakers, or anyone that has a co-working team or any event of that sort, if you don't know what hybrids events are, you found out today. And use
100%.
uni to make your events that much more powerful. If you're not using if you're not using any data or any technology for your event, you're missing out. And uni.io has all the answers to your event needs. So thank you very much,
100%.
Mukhtar.
Thank
We
you.
look forward to having you on this podcast again. And yeah,
Same,
all the
same.
best.
Yeah,
Stay
thank you very much for
tuned.
the opportunity.
You're welcome, bro. Take care now.
Take care.